Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Slaanesh and the dinosaurs. It's going to be myself with SIGVALD facing off against Aaron, who's going to be using the Banana Toad of Life, and this was the grand finals of a recent SFT, so I was able to make it to the finals using Slaanesh, and he did it with the Lizards. Just for the record, I believe Kislev and the Greenskins were banned for that one, so it's kind of like Slaanesh is really, I think they're bad matchups. Obviously, Greenskins are pretty good against them. They're good against mostly everyone, and Kislev is very hard for Slaanesh to beat. As far as Lizards go, it's been a matchup I've kind of struggled with a little bit, and the main issue that I've had problems with is Croxagores. Croxagores are excellent, and Slaanesh's anti-large is limited mostly to the Soul Grinder. They do have the Keeper of Secrets, which is good against Croxagores, but the problem with the Keeper of Secrets is they die in like 2 seconds against Chameleon Skink Poke and Skink Skirmishers and Solar Engines. So it's been a dodgy one, but my kind of tech has been the Soul Grinder because at least this thing is heavily armored, so it won't die to poke. Now for my build, it's going to be Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh with Hell Scourges, and they dominate swords pretty hardcore in combat, which is nice in the front line. They can also absorb Skink Firepower with their 100 armor and Silver Shield, so it's going to be those bad boys rocking it with the Soul Grinder there to help deal with Croxagores. We have one Cultist of Slaanesh, which are just great. They're good at just grinding in infantry fights versus like lightly armored infantry, which is, Saurs have 60 armor, but they still put some hurt on them, and being able to summon Demonettes in a clutch and to shut down something in the backfield is very good. Prince SIGVALD the Magnificent, Chaos Marauder Horseman of Slaanesh, and that's it for my starting army. Our caster is going to be not a Slaanesh caster, even though Lore of Slaanesh is very good here. In my experience, there's not too many good targets to Rampage. Although, arguably Pavane might be better, but I just wanted to experiment with a very cheap caster. So this Chaos Sorcerer, he only costs 650 gold. He's a good fighter, 80 armor, good combat stats, and he's just going to be spamming Melkoth. Melkoth does really good damage against like Saurus and Temple Guard and, some of the stuff that Lizard players have been experimenting with. So that's kind of the game plan. And going with a cheap caster instead of a more kitted out Slaanesh character allowed me to go slightly wider and afford a Soul Grinder. So for Aaron's army, he's going to be having a lot of Skirmish. Chameleon Skinks, and you might be wondering why Chameleon Skinks. Personally, I think Skink Skirmishers might be a slightly more cost-effective choice here. But in the we had played earlier in the tournament, so this is the grand finals. I ended up going 3-1 in regulation rounds. The only game I lost was to him, and it was like a razor thin game. I had a lot of Marauder Horsemen, which were struggling to deal with the Chameleon Skinks at both range as well as in melee. So this time I kind of tuned down the Horsemen, and I think maybe he wanted the Chameleons for the missile resist against my Horsemen and my Poke, right? So he's got a whole bunch of those. His main core is going to be Saurus Warriors, and the Temple Guard are just absolute chads now. They of course give Physres, which is nice, and they do also cause fear, and man, look at that. So if there's a friendly Lord or Hero in ability range, they become unbreakable. Talk about a nightmare to get rid of. And Melkoth spam on them is pretty good, and Exalted Demonettes will butcher them pretty well in combat. Although they do magic damage, so it's not like a super one-sided fight. But the main kind of thing in this matchup is I need to remove all the Skinks, all the Poke, and if I can do that, then I can potentially win the melee grind using Demonettes. Exalted Demonettes, not the basic ones, but it's not easy for sure. In the previous game, which I'll probably put up in the next week or something so you guys can see that perspective as well. But yeah, there is the big shot coming in from the Bastillodon with the Solar Engine, and it does miss, thankfully. It goes right over the head of the Chaos Warriors. So here I was like, let's just absorb it. I'm not going to catch the Skinks, but I am laying an ambush. So I do have Hellstriders in reserve there, and some more Hellstriders going to be zooming up the other side of the battlefield with their high movement speed, and also a couple Marauder Horsemen. I know I just need to get rid of the Skinks. SIGVALD does manage to catch some of these little gremlins, and he starts chopping through them. It's not bad. My opponent definitely needs to pull these back, and he probably will in a second. Objective's going to be opening up in 15 seconds here, so it's going to get nice and sweaty here in just a moment. He does have some basic Saurus as well in the wings, and Saurus Warriors are pretty insane. I was doing some testing with my boy Subutai, and we actually found that he knew already, he told me, that the Saurus Warriors defeat Tzeentch Warriors in combat with shields. I was really surprised to see that because of the armor, and, it's wild, though. So Melkoth's going down on the Temple Guard, and SIGVALD's going to be getting in fighting. He will take a little bit of damage, but nothing that he won't be able to heal, so Shield of the Old One's active. But overall, you can see how cost-effective the Melkoth's is. Solar Engine shot, really nice there. He's ripping it into my Marauder Horseman. But on the back objective, the trap is sprung. Slaanesh coming for that booty. And these Hellstriders, 85 speed even while poisoned. So they're still able to catch the Skinks. And one of the best feelings in all of Total War Warhammer is catching Chameleon Skinks in combat. I can't tell you how many times I've been trolled by them in Warhammer 2 with my Empire Knights who can't catch them at like 50 speed. But we do manage to catch them, and I do sacrifice a Marauder Horseman here to shut down the other Skink as well. So we do a 2-for-1 dive. We do manage to get the Chameleon Skinks. These ones get shut down, and we do deny the capture here, but my opponent is going to be responding with the Coldland Sphere Riders, which should be able to fight me off. As far as this objective goes, nobody's really gotten their clutches on it. The Star Chamber Guardians do push through the choke point here, but are being afflicted by Melkoths over and over, and the Exalted Demonettes are on their way in. So if I can get them to overextend and just catch them with the with the Exalted Demonettes. That's where it's really going to be at. And man, look at these Star Chamber Guardians, basically taking no damage whatsoever, just absolute raid bosses. And he's keeping the Slan nearby. So now that the Slan is near the Star Chamber Guardians, they're going to be unbreakable, which is good. So in the meantime, just to provide some buffering and a little bit of damage, I do send in the Chaos Warriors, but I will be pulling them back. Banish attempt from my opponent is going to be cast on the Chaos Warriors, and they are going to be running, but the banishment still gets a really, really good angle. Demonettes have almost arrived, and on the back point, we're forced to retreat. Hellstriders do not want to fight Cold and Spear Riders, and we did chase down a lot of the Skinks. 2 units of them did go down, or at least are in very low health, and we have another Hellstrider here to chase them, and now the Demonettes can potentially shine, while the Soul Grinder and Sigvald. So I didn't bring the Soul Grinder in the first game, and I really did notice that I was suffering against the Croxagors, but this is the Cohort of Fwaddle. We got Sigvald and an anti-large monster in here, but the Cohort of Fwaddle is a very, very just powerful fighter. They hit like absolute trucks. Super high melee attack, and they're not messing about. So we're trying to drag him down. We're doing our best. There are some Sars coming in to help. A couple Marauder Horsemen are just going to be parking here, providing Javelin support, but this is where the bread gets buttered. The Exalted Demonettes have gotten in, and they are just hunting down these Temple Guard. Their hard armor piercing and just raw combat stats is enough to muscle them down. Now, Lizards have a ton of answers against Demonettes via their range, but if those answers are not on the battlefield, you're going to have a bad time. So these Demonettes are butchering Chameleon Skinks, butchering the Temple Guard, and you can see their numbers are going down very, very quickly. While this fight's also not going badly for us, Sigvald and the Soul Grinder were able to trade somewhat evenly with the Cohort of Fwaddle, but he does have healing and I don't, so that felt kind of bad as well. As far as my backfield pressure, Hellstriders do get chased down, and the Skinks there are a couple units left. There's 2 units of Skinks here. One of them was kind of sacrificed in melee here. Hellscourge Warriors being pounded by the Cohort of Fwaddle, which is bullying through my ranks, so they are able to push over the Hellscourge Warriors. And get on top of Marauder Horseman. That guy's going to get punched in the face. Down he goes. Yep. Knocked off the horse by the big Power Fist Croxagors. Demonettes, though, potentially going to be a carry here. And we do also summon Demonettes behind the Temple Guard. I really wanted to finish them off because of the benefits they provide to the Slan and the fact that they're just such a good anchor unit. So I summoned Demonettes behind them. And these Hellraiser ladies will be getting in and punching through. A lot of damage going down to the Chameleon Skinks, and the Temple Guard are unbreakable. They're at 10 models right now. Absolute raid bosses. So as far as the flank goes, we do see a flank coming around. It is going to be Cold on Spear Riders. Probably looking to finish off my Soul Grinder if he can. Back objective is under the control of the Lizards, but we do have the double cap. And we are up in value a little bit right now, 49 to 43. But with healing, it's a very even game, if not a little bit ahead for him. We're probably dead even. Demonette's going to charge in, and I did not expect the Spear Riders to do that much damage. Like, they melted my Demonettes on the charge. I was like, God damn! They weren't even, like, targeting me. It was very awkward. They just did so much damage. My Demonettes lost, like, 40% of their health, so I felt bad about that one, but even still, the Demonettes should be able to rip them to shreds in combat. We'll see how that all unfolds here. Exalted Demonettes on this side, probably sitting over 1,000 value at this point. Let's go ahead and take a look and try and find that. Yeah, so 1,200, they cost 1,250, so they've almost paid for themselves. Meanwhile, over here we have the Hell Scourges, which do get smashed by Croxagors, but the good thing about Hell Scourges is they're a solid anchor unit, right? They're not the hammer, they're the anvil, and you just put them there and they tank all day. Though we do manage to bully the Slan, so the Slan is not the most maneuverable, and if they get caught in a weird position, the Soul Grinder plus Sigvald were able to get that Battletoad down very low. And in my head, I was like, if I kill the Battletoad, this is basically just GG, right? On the side, we get Demonettes against Spear Riders. And you see they didn't do quite as much damage there. The Demonettes should be able to win this with the Cultist and the Hellscourge Warriors. They provide much needed armor piercing, so hopefully that will go well. The other Demonettes did dispatch the Cold and Spear Riders, the Exalted ones, and now they're going to be moving into a sustained combat fight, which is what they're all about. Much like Bloodletters. Bloodletters are more of an elite anti-infantry unit. They're more of a specialist in that regard. But Demonettes, you have to kind of look at them as like really hard-hitting, squishy cavalry, but that don't have the large profile, right? So if you're worried about anti-large, but you still want some sort of a cavalry presence, that's how I like to use Demonettes. But yeah, they'll do great here. The Cold and Spear Riders and the Croxagors will get pounded. Battletoad was able to rally, but I do get a surround on him. Now this was the most haggard shit in the game. We surround the Battletoad. He uses the armor of Pretzel, which gives him 54 melee defense and a blood statue of spite. I move around to surround him, and literally, I don't know what these Seekers were doing, but they just straight up were not attacking him. You can see 533 HP, 0 damage was coming in. I can't tell you how frustrated I was in the game. I was like, kill it! Bring it down! Not a single damage! So there's some sort of a weird thing where they're having trouble with his hitbox, in classic Total War stuff, right? So at this point, I realize I'm not doing any damage. I pull the Horsemen around, and they're going to be throwing in, and the Seekers just take a lot of unnecessary casualties. That felt really bad, because I could have just killed the Skink unit, but I figured I was actually going to hit. But they're like, I don't know, maybe I needed to give them another attack order. I'd actually never seen that before. The Seekers are having a hard time connecting there, that's for damn sure. We are up by 3,000 value. The trading went very well for us in the middle. We do have the big monster still here, so the Soul Grinder's doing great. And Battletoad's down to 300 HP, so I do move some of my Horsemen to try and snipe him. Sigvald's hunting, but the Battletoad is surprisingly quick. SIGVALD might be able to get him, but ultimately, even if he comes back, it's not the end of the world. Exalted Demonettes do come across, and I'm going to be using a Rampage because I know how awful the missile units are, right? So we use Narcissism, to lock down the Chameleon Skinks, letting the Demonettes just butcher them in combat. My opponent calling in Sacred Croxagors and Bastillodons, so I know I have to stop giving chase here. I have to kind of hedge my bets, get the objectives, and not lose my cool. I mean, I wasn't actually angry. I was in Discord chatting with Pone and Subutai, and I was like, oh my god, how's that Battletoad getting away? And he escapes. Rev Crystal coming in, so he lives. And many a men have met their doom at the hands of trying to finish off a Slan and it not working out. So I felt like I had good battlefield control. He's kind of trickling in a little bit now, so let's clear these out. Let's call in some mobility and steal his back objective. He doesn't really have a whole lot defending it. Princes of Perfection are also really good against Lizardmen. Definitely a cost-effective spear unit that's immune to psychology, so you can just stick them on like a Bastillodon or a Croxagor or anything like that, and they'll do well. Soporific Musk also on the Solar Engine. Lowering its stats a little bit. Yeah, you can see its melee stats are really, really low right now. But overall, we're in good shape. We're in a commanding position. We're up by about 3,000 value, and this is for all the marbles. This was the tournament grand finals. Here we do have the Cavalry coming into the flank. Hellstriders with the Hellscourges running down the Chameleon Skinks once again, while the Slaaneshi Heretics move up. Soul Grinder of Slaanesh a little bit damaged, to say the least. Rocking 1,200 HP, but he didn't hear no bell. Demons, of course, will fight to the bitter end. Granted, sometimes that can be a little bit rough. And our Melkoth's Caster has also been good. 1,200 value, there's been plenty of targets, like the Coldland Sphere Riders, the Temple Guard. If he had gone with like a Skink Croxagor base build, I think I would have had a little bit of a harder time, but even still, it's been working. So it looks like a Fat Heel's going to go down on the Sacred Croxagors, or at least Slan was thinking about it, but maybe he's going to be switching it to himself. Hellscourges chasing down Skinks in the back, while the other Hellscourges will be moving to the back objective here, so they're going to be grabbing that. And the old Soul Grinder of Slaanesh finally going to be crumbling down, but it did great, man. This thing fought hard the entire game, got 2,800 value. It beat down the Battletoad and routed him. And the one upside of killing the Battletoad, or at least routing him, is like, he kind of has to then start healing himself instead of other things. Unless, he's just going to die, right? So Seekers of Slaanesh, they pound the Chameleon Skinks. I'm like, let's try this round too. And you see, we do good damage on the impact, but it seems like, are they going to... You see, now they're connecting. Why couldn't they do this earlier? That was so weird. They were like running circles like Benny Hill, but now they connect, and they actually did a lot of damage right there in the sustained combat. But the Battletoad is going to be breaking. He is shattered, so we don't have to worry about him anymore, which means my opponent can't unsummon him to avoid the leadership penalty. We're going to get a triple cap, and we do have some Coldland Spear Riders. Desperation moving to the back objective here, while SIGVALD and the... you can see, man, Croxagors are such a problem in this matchup. Sacred Croxagors are a really cool tech, too. I like that a lot for my opponent. I think they're probably better than regular Croxagors here because of the prevalence of demons. The fact that they do magic damage makes them very nice against, like, let's say, Exalted Demonettes, Seekers... a lot of units that you're going to be seeing quite a bit of. Seekers are a very good cavalry unit, and Exalted Demonettes, I think, are also a must-bring. At least 2 or 3 of them. I wouldn't go like all in on them. I think you need Hellscourges to hold back the Lizards initially, but from there, you do it. So it looks like a shot going down to the Seekers of Slaanesh. They're going to be blinded. Not sure how you could blind a demon, but it is what it is. I guess they still have eyes. And Prince SIGVALD attacking away, and he's done good too. He's an anchor. SIGVALD doesn't do anything too flashy. He just kind of sits there and fights and gets a good value. We've got some Hellscourges hanging out, and our Slaanesh Sorcerer, or our Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows of Slaanesh. Whatever, you guys get the idea. I'm going to be hiding him behind the pillar, because I didn't want him to get killed by the Bastillodon. We also get a big flank here. I managed to get a enveloping surround on the Coldland Spear Riders, and they get wrecked. Seekers are very good, and we did also use the Sweet Sorrow on them to give them the movement speed. It did wear off, but that's the army ability. And another shot from downtown does hit me in the back, but it also friendly fires the Coldland Spear Riders and our Slaaneshi Cavalry. Able to overwhelm the very slow Lizardmen Cav. So we do swarm them, they're broken. The back objective belongs to us. Points are looking pretty good for us at this point. SIGVALD's still duking it out, and the Hellscourge Warriors doing what they do best, which is battle Saurus. Fortunately, those damn Croxagors are a big, big problem. Call-ins for us are going to be more Exalted Demonettes, and I know that because Exalted Demonettes can fight the Croxagors, like, very, very well. As a matter of fact, they might even win that if you put them in a straight fight, although these ones do magic damage, so hard to say. They don't have a bonus for his infantry, and currently you can see my caster. How many of you guys played WoW Arena back in the day? You remember humping the pillar when you were playing like any sort of a healer or something? I hated that shit so much. I played so much WoW Arena, but the worst thing in the world was I played a Frost Mage, so we would play Frost Mage Rogue Priest as our 3v3 when we got Gladiator, and like the Druid Warrior thing, when a Druid would just be like humping a pillar, God, it was so stupid. But I guess I needed it for bounce reasons, I don't know. But yeah, here we go. We get the Hellstriders chasing down the old Skinks here. In the meantime, SIGVALD didn't hear no bell, fighting that Rev Crystal all day. A couple Seekers of Slaanesh. A good armor-piercing unit. And you can see now they're connecting. They're hitting normally here. That was just weird that one time. It was very, very weird. Yeah, so they're going to keep trying it out, and those Skinks do get broken. Basically going to be probably GG for them at this point. They just don't have enough stopping power. Their Battletoad's gone. Sending in Coldwind Spear Riders while I do have the very scary Demonettes on the way in isn't going to be great for them. And we do come around for a big surround. So let's give this to you guys. So let's give you the big Slaanesh sandwich from behind, baby. These Demonettes want to do it from the front, which is fine. You know, they arrive in, they're going to massacre these Coldwind Spear Riders. But on the back, we get the big Slaaneshi surround. Very speedy, very fast. And I have to say, man, Slaanesh is probably my favorite of the Chaos factions to play right now. Siege is really fun too, but Slaanesh is just so rewarding. When you get those good engagements that you have to work really hard for, like the mobile fights and all the skirmishing and poking, it's very, very fun. So we pound these guys down. That's basically going to be it. The Lizardmen are going to crumble. Even the Sacred Crocscores will give in to the Demonettes. Demonettes just butcher those other Crocscores. See that? These ones are like on death's bed, and all those units run for the hills. They move in. A lot of damage going down. We get some horsemen on the backside, but that is it. And we got our tournament final, baby. Still got it. Still got it. So that was pretty cool. I just joined that one last minute and wasn't expecting Slaanesh to do so well. We played 2 Warriors of Chaos, a Lizardman, and what was the other one? We played 2 Warriors of Chaos player. We played Lizardmen in the earlier rounds, and then there was one more matchup, Cathay. We played Grand Cathay. I would say Slaanesh has a pretty decent time against Grand Cathay, so that matchup wasn't too bad. But the Warriors of Chaos matchups for Subutai, we played them twice actually, were very sweaty. And this one was also quite sweaty. We did lose to RN in the earlier rounds, but we managed to still get into the top 4 because of our tiebreaker score. And we were able to get revenge in the grand finals, which is good. Now for him, Temple Guard only 700, so we held them back. The Bastillodon, I almost like maybe like 2 of those. Those things were great. Saurus Warriors, they did their part. But the big thing was hunting down the Skinks. Oh man, 1,700 and 1,500 on those. Such pains in the butt, but yeah, you got to hunt down the Skinks. Because if the Skinks and Javelins, that's why I think maybe cutting Chameleon Skinks in lieu of maybe get like a couple Skink Skirmishers and then get Cohorts. Because the Cohorts have those Volley Javelins, which could also do very good against Demonettes, although these things will do more sustained damage. So arguably, I don't know, he got good value on them. They paid for themselves for sure. Yeah, GG well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. That's it for today, and Sigmar bless.